In 2025, Donald Trump, along with Elon Musk, discovered an agenda of their own government which was using thousands of taxpayer dollars from the United States to manipulate, to influence, to control political debates, establishing a leftist agenda in various places around the world. This agency was created in 1961 by the CIA. It was created with the aim of containing the advance of the Soviet Union and its influence on other nations. The name of this agency is called USAID, US, for United States, and A for agency, I for international, and D for development. In other words, United States Agency for International Development. It was developed to bring humanitarian aid to other nations, and thus it manages to enter other nations. And in this way, it contained the advance of the Soviet Union. And this acronym, USAID, has two meanings, because the S stands for United States, and the word aid already means assistance in English. In other words, a development agency for humanitarian aid, and it helps the entire world. However, since it was created by the CIA masked this humanitarian aid agency to actually establish an agenda among various nations, a progressive leftist agenda. And this was discovered recently, now in 2025, by Donald Trump and Elon Musk. If you search for this now on YouTube, you will find many channels talking about it because it is becoming an international scandal. The person responsible for dismantling this company, which Donald Trump has already ordered to be shut down, is Elon Musk. Everything I'm telling you here and what I will say is already documented and is being reported on social media. Donald Trump himself is leaking all of this on social media. So, when he discovered these things here, he decided to really shut down this agency. In other words, he is investigating an agency of his own government. It wasn't during his administration that this agency was doing these absurdities. It was during Biden's administration, and in fact since Obama's administration, this agency has been getting increasingly corrupt because it actually helps other nations like Africa, poor places in the world. But in reality, this ends up being a facade for it to establish its progressive agenda. And Donald Trump discovered this and he got very angry because this the agency, it funds, it manipulates, it controls political debates worldwide. And they discovered that this agency was even involved in Brazil's 2022 elections. And they are proving this. It is now being investigated. This is an extremely important issue. According to them, it means that if this agency hadn't been active and corrupt, Lula wouldn't be governing Brazil today. Because there was heavy influence from this agency. In Brazil, in 2022, these are not my words. They are the words of Elon's own investigators. Look at what they discovered. This agency spent $1.5 million to promote diversity and inclusion in workplaces in Serbia. It is a progressive agenda. $70,000 for the production of music about diversity and inclusion in Ireland. They funded a transgender opera in Colombia. They created a transgender comic book in Peru. In other words, a leftist agenda, a globalist agenda, contrary to everything that is right-wing, contrary to conservatism. It was being established worldwide. Why did Donald Trump get very upset about this? Because this agency had a strong influence on the elections, in which he lost. Biden won because this agency was manipulating debates. It influenced his rejection, and this had repercussions in Brazil. Did it also influence Bolsonaro's rejection? And they are saying this with evidence. This agency, which is establishing a progressive agenda, it is against Donald Trump's own values. In other words, he is a right-wing conservative. And this made him very angry. This agency is already closed. It turns out that critics of Donald Trump and his own country are raising many arguments against him. There are critics from the right and critics from the left. Not all on the right think correctly. And they are saying that now, with the closure of this agency, what will happen in the world and in the United States? They saw that Donald Trump will achieve a very large economy for his own country. Countries like China and Russia have much to gain from the closure of this agency because now these nations that were receiving these funds Since there was indeed some kind of aid for these nations, they will be left unsupported. And now China and Russia, knowing this, will step in to support these nations, expanding their market. But Donald Trump is not concerned about this. He is concerned with this globalist agenda that was being established. Debate influencers. Within Brazil itself, this agency was promoting censorship. Because we are in the age of censorship. There is a trend from 2025 onwards to have major censorship in the world. And this is prophesied by the Word of God itself. Pay attention to what I am going to tell you. What Donald Trump is doing along with Elon Musk is something fair. It is something that God himself approves. It is something related to a right-wing profile, which is a profile much more aligned with God. The right on earth is not God's right, but it is something fairer. However, there is a dark side behind all of this. There is a manipulation by the spirit of the Antichrist, which those of us who study prophecy know he is using. Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they have no idea about this. Now they are fighting against censorship. They are fighting against things that are abominable before God. But at the same time, they are establishing another type of agenda that in the future will take away all our freedom of expression. And it will be worse than it is now. Now we can get a little relief. Yes, because if the right reigns, if the right is dominating the nations, the government has a bit more relief because as you may have noticed, this LGBT organization, leftist agenda, this culture, this profile, they have grown in the world. And what was giving strength to these arms was this agency, which was influencing, controlling all of this. And that's why there was this rise. Donald Trump, by shutting down this agency, now weakens the arms of the left. So we have a little more relief. But Satan will not stand still. He is working with both the right and the left. Remember, I told you in past videos, there are things we need to look at which are just things. But unfortunately, Donald Trump is allied with Elon Musk. Elon Musk, on one hand, has a company called Neuralink, which is a company that wants to connect the brain with a chip. And we already know that this is a fulfillment of a prophecy from the book of Revelation. Now, Donald Trump is wanting to open a company, and in fact, he is going to open it. He is already investing $500 billion for this purpose, which is an agency called Stargate that performs eye scanning. I don't really know what the proposal is, but from what I see, it's all related to artificial intelligence. What it seems to me is that nations will shift their focus a bit from the Cold War, and they are focusing on the artificial intelligence war. Now, the nation that invests in artificial intelligence will grow. Donald Trump, he wants to make the United States great again, which is the phrase he used on his cap. Russia and China, they are keeping an eye on this. And they will also invest in artificial intelligence. This will lead to a race for artificial intelligence warfare until the Cold War becomes a hot war. All of Mount, this will converge in the prophecies of the book of Revelation. It's quite difficult to understand all of this if you don't study the prophecies. But in part 2 of the video, I will talk a little more about this. I talked about Elon Musk's company Neuralink, and I talked about Stargate, the new company now of Donald Trump. What do these two companies have to do with the mark of the beast, the image of the beast? They have everything to do with it. You can be sure when the image of the beast is constructed by men, as it is written in Revelation 13, these companies will be present and will be influencing, perhaps they will be funding the creation of the image of the beast. Because when a new government rises, it needs 3 things. It needs a new law, it needs a new currency, and it needs a new flag. This new law, we already know, is the decree to remove the gospel from the entire world. In other words, the left will defeat the right will succumb to the left's agenda, and they will have to become arms of silver, connected to the same silver chest, governed by the head of gold, to rule the world with a belly, and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of clay and iron. This is a global agenda. There is no escaping these prophecies. In this new empire that will rise, which the Apocalypse calls the 8th king, these 3 things will happen. A new law, a new currency, and a new flag. A new law? We know it is the decree to stop the gospel worldwide as prophesied, in fact, throughout the Bible. But the book of Revelation is very clear on this. A new currency is the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is linked to money, because those who do not have the mark cannot buy or sell. And the new flag, it will no longer be a cloth flag with colors, representing a nation. The new flag of this new world order is the image of the beast. You can see that the beast is peoples, languages, and United Nations that Revelation 17 itself calls the eighth king. It is the last king on earth. It is king and it is kingdom. King, because it is the Antichrist, and kingdom, because he will take over a government, a technological government, an artificial intelligence government, and this new image is the new flag. It will have to be a flag that represents the government itself. The government of the Antichrist is 10 United Nations forming a single empire. These 10 nations, these 10 powers, will reign over all the other nations of the earth. All the other nations will continue with their flags, with their powers, but they will have to submit to this new world order, to this image. And this image is related to technology, especially with artificial intelligence. Because as Revelation chapter 13 says, it is men who make this image for the beast. And what do men have in their hands today to make an image? And an image that controls, that manipulates, that tracks? It is technology with artificial intelligence. You can see that the image has the power to kill those who do not worship the beast. The beast is one thing, the image is another thing, and the mark of the beast is yet another thing. So the beast is the Antichrist and his kingdom. The image of the beast is an electronic component that will merge with man, a machine of artificial intelligence. And this image will be able to have control over the entire world in such a way that people, to worship this image, to worship the beast, they do not need to leave their homes. They will be controlled. They will be manipulated, and this is related to Neuralink. This is related to Donald Trump's proposal to scan eyes. Perhaps he has no idea about this. But these choices he is making will contribute to the empire of the beast, even if he is doing something good momentarily. This was part 1 of the study. On the final screen and in the description, a link will appear for you to follow part 2, where I will talk a little more about geopolitics, but I will focus more on the prophetic parts.